Hey everybody, this is JC from Westcott. I'm here tonight to talk to you guys about some entry-level flash stuff that's gonna hopefully take some of the fear out of lighting for you guys. Specifically tonight, we're gonna talk about two things. We're gonna talk about creating drama, because I find that whenever I do a live demo, whenever I'm teaching someplace and I talk to the people who walk up and I go, what do you want to do? Do you want it to be nice and natural or do you want drama? Always everybody goes, I want drama. Because it's like, I think that the reason for that is because it's the opposite of what you can do with natural light. Natural light, it's a lot easier to try to make something that looks natural. So adding that drama is that thing that you can only do this way, or at least easily. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to also, as we get into this, we're going to talk about creative mask, which is a mode that Westcott added into the two newest lights that we have. It's going to, for me, gives me a little bit of an ability to efficiently, without going back and forth to my triggers and changing things, create multiple looks just from the camera. I'll explain more about that in a second, but let's start here first. So lighting, the first question we should ask ourselves, why do we even need to add light, right? We need to add light so that we can be creative. So, everybody that's in here, I imagine, if they were better, they'd paint, but we've found ourselves being photographers, right? So we're out there and we have a choice between taking photos or making photos. And the biggest way to separate yourself from everybody else is to learn how to add light. Adding light is going to be that thing that separates you from all the rest of the people that are out there. And what I really enjoy is that as I've gotten older, I'm seeing more and more people embrace strobe and embrace lighting in general, and I'm seeing better work than ever. 10 years ago, it was really easy to separate yourself. Now you got to be really good to separate yourself. But we're going to go over a process that's going to make it so that if you understand ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, everybody here does know those three things, then you'll be able to add light. Because I run into so many people that are like, I really like available light. And what they usually mean is, I'm scared of adding light to it. And they're unwilling to admit that the strobes are available. The constant lights are available. We can always add that light. And for me, I know that when I get called to do a gig, 9 times out of 10, it's at a time when the natural light is terrible. So I tend to go, there's natural light shooters and there's available light shooters. I'm an available light shooter. Whatever's available to me, I'm going to add to my picture. We're going to do a demo. As I mentioned to you guys here, I had an unfortunate incident with the model that I had for today who sliced her foot open, so she's not here. So we're going to pull some of you good-looking people into the crowd over here to model. I'm also eventually going to get some of you guys to come up and take part in this. But what we're going to talk about is my process, how I go from taking an available light shot to something that's very dramatic. We're going to talk about modifier choices. And then eventually we're going to add this creative mask. So let's start by bringing somebody up here. Who wants a picture? You're back up. He volunteered once today. Yeah. All right. So one of the most intimidating things to me, as somebody who's now been doing this for a while, it still can be intimidating, is walking into a situation that I don't have a lot of control over. I get booked to go to somebody's office, I get booked to go to their studio, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Because I love the idea of pre-visualization of, in my mind, going, what am I going to do? But as Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. It's really easy to think, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and then when you get there, realize that the space isn't the same that you thought, your ceilings aren't the color, the walls aren't the color, you're going to have to improvise really quick, because all of this is problem solving. So I come in here, we've decided, introduce yourself to everybody at home.
Hi guys, my name is Andre.
Yeah. He's our client. So he's decided that he wanted something that made him look a little bit more dramatic, a little bit tougher, because all the rest of his headshots are light and airy. That's the key word these days, right? So we're going to do our best to take him, and instead of him looking like somebody that's really approachable, he maybe looks a little bit like somebody that might be dangerous. We're going to go with that. So I'm going to have him come up. And one of the things that I like to do is, if I'm going to try to create drama, is control where the light goes, right? So if I have that light go anywhere in my picture, then I'm going to create even more drama for myself, not the kind of drama that I want to have in my picture. So if I have him step away from that background, it's easier for me to control the light that goes to the background. Now, I go through the same process all the time. I've been here before. I've done From Fear to Flash, which is the class that I teach that's really an entry-level lighting class. I'm going to start with ISO in my head. In this case, I'm going to shoot at 100 because it's all controlled. I want the best image quality possible. Then I'm going to think about focal length. In this space, I'm a little bit limited, right? So it's going to be somewhere in the 35 to 70 range, depending on how much of him I want to shoot. Now, why that's important is because the first big creative decision that I'm going to make is aperture. And it's aperture not because it's going to control how much total light's coming into my picture, although it is. It's because it's going to dictate what's in focus in my photo. It's going to control the depth of field. Between the lights, between shutter speed, which is coming up next, I have other ways to control the total amount of light that's in my photo. But depth of field, I can only control one way, with my focal length and my aperture. So if I'm shooting the same picture outside, and there's something in the background that's distracting, maybe then I'm going to go, let's shoot this at 3.5, let's shoot this at 4, let's shoot this at 1.4, whatever, because I'm trying to control depth of field for a creative reason. But in here, I want to make sure that he's sharp all the way through. Let's pretend that he's got great eyelashes. They're okay. You know, if he had those big eyelashes, some of these cameras now are so good at eye focus, but they will catch the eyelashes instead of the eye. And if I decide to shoot that at 1.4, well, suddenly I've got eyelashes in focus and I've got eyes that are out of focus. If I was shooting him for a barber school, I want to make sure all of his hair is in focus. The thing is, I'm shooting against a black background. So if that goes out of focus, who cares? Even if I was shooting something that had a little bit of texture back there, who cares? What's important to me is that he's in focus. I do a lot of, if you guys are looking at my Instagram by any chance, I do a lot of sports stuff. And one of the things that I'm finding now is that younger me was in love with my fast glass and shooting them fast because I wanted to show off the fact that I had all this fast glass. And when I look at those old pictures, I go, wow, like the guy turned this way and the patch on the arm is out of focus because I decided to shoot this at 2.8 at 135 or something. I'm much more given as I've gotten a little bit older when it doesn't serve me for creative purposes to stop down a little bit. I've got enough light. I've got, you know, all these other abilities. ISO on the cameras is through the roof, right? I can get more light if I need to. So I'm going to look at him, and for the people that are home that maybe are not as comfortable, you haven't failed as often as I have. I'm a big fan of failing forward, of making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. I know that at 50 millimeters at f8 that I've got about 6 or 7 feet of depth of field acceptable. So I'm going to be good at this distance. But there are depth of field calculators. Just Google it. It'll give you the focal length, the distance, and it'll tell you how much you have at that distance. That's the safest way to do it. But eventually, you'll incorporate that just into your brain because you'll have made some mistakes or you've just have learned. So I'm going to step back here. I'm going to turn off that light. So I'm using the FJ800 as my main light here. I have it, it's going to be turned way down. I don't need all that power, but it's nice to have because I'm going to stop down a little bit. Now, let's go f8. After I've picked that, the next thing that I'm going to pick is shutter speed. The shutter speed is going to control my ambient light. In this case, what I would like is a black frame. I would like all of the light in this picture to come from where I control it. Because the one reason that I'm adding light to pictures is to be creative. And the more that I can have control over that, the more I can say, this is what my intent was. I like to light with some intent. So this first shot's going to be f8 at, I'm going to switch it down to 2/50th of a second because just about everybody's camera can sync at 2/50th. My camera will sync at 400th, which is a nice thing, but let's do it to something that everybody can do. I'm going to frame him up. There we go. Take a picture. And we got a black frame. All right, that's perfect. You know, having that black frame means now that this light, that light is not part of this exposure. So whatever I add to him now is going to be with purpose, which is what I'm really trying to do here. So let's turn on A. I did a really brief test right before this, but I have now switched some settings, so it's on purpose going to be messed up because I think that we should work through this the way that you would. The right way to do this would be to get out a light meter. That'd be a great thing to do, but Westcott doesn't sell light meters, so I'm not going to use one. That's my answer. All right, let's take a baby step this way. Hey, I'm being honest, right? All right. So I'm a good guesser. I should have failed worse to make this look like a bad example, but I only am guessing that well because I have failed so many times because I've been doing this for so long. So I ended up at F8 at 2/50th of a second. I had set my power on my lights to 5/6 on that group. Now what that means is we have 9 stops of control on our lights. 9 would be full power, 8 would be 1 stop down from that, 7 would be a stop down from that, and we also have 1/10 of a stop on the right. I don't know if there's a way for me to show that, but it doesn't. The triggers or one camera that I can do that to. It's not important. Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. All right. So like I was saying, we've got up to 6 groups on the trigger. This is group A. Now, why would I have multiple groups? Because if I want this second light or a third light or a fourth light to not be the exact same power as the first one, I'm going to set those on different groups. Group A, I have set to 5.6 in this case, which turned out to be a pretty good guess. I think maybe he's a little bit hot on the right side that's lit, right? So I'll turn it down 2/10 of a stop, just, as a guess. Let's first do this. Let's pretend that I knew nothing. I'll put it on 9 power, which should be full power. We'll make some mistakes on purpose because that's, all right. So we blew it out. Now, we're in a studio and we're worried about inverse square law. We're worried about a lot of other things, and that's how the light's going to go past him and go to the background. The closer the light is to him, the faster the fall off's going to be. But in this case, it overpowered that, because in the first picture, we didn't have that problem. So I look at him and I go, how bright is he? Is he twice as bright as he should be? That'd be 1 stop. Is he 4 times as bright as he should be? It'd be 2 stops. I think he's much more than that. So I'm going to take a guess based off of a lifetime of failure. I'm going to go down to 6 first because I think that he's at least 3 stops too bright. There we go. Okay. We were in the ballpark now. And then that's where I would be. Now, 10 years ago, when the screens were worse on the backs of these cameras, then I was definitely shooting tethered, or I was definitely using a light meter much more often because it was more accurate. The screens have gotten so good now that I feel like I can look at it. It's a pretty accurate representation of what I'm going to see on my screen. So I've gone down to 5.3. Now our model, like almost every model that you'll ever shoot, sees that the light's on that side and has insisted on looking away from it. That's what they all do. If I move the light to this side, I guarantee he'll look that way. But so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to go, okay, now if that's the mood I'm going for, then it's fine. But I'm going to say, hey, Andre, turn this way. Let's look towards the light and see where we're at. So now we got a little bit more light on his face. He's a little bit more approachable. Now, we've created all that drama that we talked about already. And that's cool. It's that proverbial, showing fire to a fish moment where you're like, hey, I couldn't have done that without adding this light. But now I'm going to look at it and I go, if I think that exposure is right, but I don't like the light placement, I don't like the quality of the light on him, because now we've worked out a mount. A mount is least important to me, not because it has to be right, but what I'm thinking about more because of the storytelling aspect of it, of how people are going to perceive him in this picture, is direction. So right now, I'm relatively high. I'm like 45, but I'm going to bring it a little bit more in front, but I'm going to think about it as though he's the center of a clock. Because now when I move this light, if I move it closer or farther, I'm suddenly going to make him brighter or less bright, which is I don't want to do because I don't want to go back to what I just did. What I want instead is just to see what a different quality of light will be on him as I move the light around. I can. Will that help you? Here we go. Turn on the modeling lights so the people at home can see them a little bit better. I got plenty of power. I was able to focus anyway, but here we go. All right. So now just by that little move, I moved it what? A foot, this way. But I didn't move it a foot this way, because then geometry would tell us that it would be much closer to him. I pretended that I was on a string. I moved it in a circle. Now, I like that a little better. I think that it's a little less extreme. Without zooming it in, if I zoom it in here, is it going to, it won't, right?
Hit P?
Yeah.
And you can just do a loop.
I want to see it, yeah. All right, can we see that modeling light? Because that's the thing that I'm going to kind of be really focused on, and that's going to go a long way towards not only where I decide to place my lights, But it also, for me, is going to depend on which modifiers I pick. You know, Westcott makes rapid boxes in different shapes, different sizes, and they're all going to be something that I'm going to pick for different uses. I tend to really like round soft boxes because I like round catch lights. That's like the number one reason that I tend to pick them. It's an aesthetic choice more than anything else. Because the softness of the light, though, is going to be dictated by the size of the light source in relation to the size of the subject. So now if I want that light to be softer, and by softer, what we're talking about isn't less intense. I think there's a lot of people at home that are maybe beginners that mistake the intensity of the light for the quality of the light, the softness or hardness of the light. Now, I don't think hard or soft are bad words. You know, like a lot of people are like, oh, it's a portrait, we got to shoot soft light. Not if it's not the story I want to tell. If it's a story I want to tell, I'm going to make it hard. Now, if this was the only modifier I had, how could I make it softer or harder? Somebody. Move it closer with the light. So there was another answer about maybe we could throw some more diffusion in front of it. That'd be great. But moving it closer. Because even though it is still the 36-inch beauty dish, it is going to be bigger in relation to him. Now, when I move it closer, I'm going to have to turn down the power. But we're going to do it. I'm going to frame it closer to him. Move it down. So you'll babysit that way again. Okay. Now, at the same time, I'm going to feather it away from him a little bit so that it doesn't hit my background. Now it's going to be too strong. We know that. Boom. So he got brighter, but the wraparound is a little bit better. If you look at just the part of his face where it stops being lit, it's a little bit more gradual now. There's still shadows, because you can have directional light that is soft, and you can have direct light that's hard if you move it far enough back. You know, where it goes to shadows would then be faster, the graduation would be less. All right, so we moved it closer. Let's turn down the power. I'm going to say we're going to probably one stop. And I think I probably did it too much. I think he looked better somewhere in the middle of those two. He's like scared of it. There you go. I think that's better. I think that, you know, for me, looking at it on screens and trying to, you know, not really being critical, I really like the way that looks. Now, if I decide that I want more light on the background, what do you think I should do? There's a couple of things. That was a great answer. I could feather it back towards the light. If this was a gray background, let's say, or something where we wanted to get some texture, as long as this light can see him, as long as he can see the light can see him. So if we decide that we want to feather it this way, it's still going to hit him, but more of it's going to spill to the background. That's not what I'm trying to do right now, so we'll take a shot just so you guys can see real quick. Oh, okay. I think with black, it's not going to make a difference, but I did lose some of the light that was coming around to the side of his face. So when I see this situation now, I start going to myself, what can make this better? Oh. I don't want to do that. Good call. He said we can move him close farther to the back, but it's black. I'm not worried about that. But what I don't like right now is that his hair in the back of his head is being lost. It's not bad. And I know that 15-year-old ago me would go, this is great, because I was able to make something that I couldn't do. But now I'm looking at it, I'm going, all right, so we're losing his hair. Now, if he had, he got cool hair, but if he had cooler hair, then this would be a necessity for us to do something about this. If his hair was the main thing that we were paying attention to, but we're going to add that second light into this equation now. Now, when I decide to add in a second light, the easiest thing to do to make sure that you don't mess this up is to turn off your main light. And we're just going to we're going to work from the back to the front. And anytime that I add a light that's behind my subject, or if I'm adding a light to the background, let's say I decided to use my optical spot and throw it onto the background, I'm always going to start with that to see how that looks without the main light. Because when I look at it quick, on the screen I can see it, but if I looked at it quick here, especially if somebody has light hair, it'll look fine here, and when I get home, it won't be. It'll be blown out. And we all have enough dynamic range in the modern cameras to pull some shadows out, but what I can't do is repair something that's blown out. So I'm going to be a little bit more critical of that backlight than I even am of my front light. Not to say I'm not critical of everything, I am, but all right, let's take a look. Now, my placement for that, this is the art, right? Is where it's going to go. Right now, it's 180 degrees away from my main light. That's always a good place to start. It depends on what I'm doing. A lot of time, like here in this studio, I don't have space behind my backdrop. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll end up taking like my 1x4 or my 1x3. I'll put it right up totally above the background, aim back at me. Modern cameras, less flare, make sure it's high enough. But that means that if I get a subject that wants to turn left or turn right, I've still got a nice hair light across the both shoulders. Separation light, whatever we want to call it. But in this case, let's see where we're at. I think we could use a little more than that, right? So one of the challenges that we're going to have is just movement. But all right, a little bit better. Now, here. All right, so I'm zoomed in on that. I'm seeing skin detail. I'm seeing that his hair is no longer lost. I'm going to go a little brighter, but not a lot, because I don't want to get to that point where I lose skin detail. All right, so I'm going to turn it up 6. Now, this is an 800 watt light. That's a 400 watt light. So when I'm talking to you about the power settings that I'm using, right off the bat, this one's a stop more powerful. So that one, to be even, would have to be 1 stop above what I have on this one. Then we got to add in the fact that it is much farther back. So I'm going to have to turn it up even more. So even though my main light's at 4.8, my backlight right now is at 6 for this next shot. And I think that we're going to be pretty happy there. I feel good about that. All right, so his hair has become an actual thing. We've got detail on his cheek. Now we're going to put those 2 shots together. The thing that really clicked for me with lighting, where this went from being something where I felt like I was guessing all the time and I was working backwards from trying to work with the lights and then make my settings fit, is now I'm going, every lit picture is 2 separate exposures. It's the one that I created here, and now we're going to add these lights. It's almost like we're doing an HDR with every lit picture. So we had that black frame at the beginning. All this light's now us. This is just going to be almost like we're doing masks. This is one mask. I've now lit him here correctly. Now I'm going to add this other one in. Let's take a baby step back. There you go. All right, just your head. Okay, I'm using my Jedi powers for you. That little bit of separation to me, if we were able to go back real fast to 3 pictures ago, there to there, I might even start to now move that, because I like it, and I definitely like it better, but now, as we separate ourselves as we learn this and as we get better and better at it, you know, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, let's not throw away our shot, right? So not him, it was Hamilton, right? It wasn't Jefferson, it was Hamilton who didn't want to throw away his shot. We're going to take this light now and we're going to go, what am I doing wrong? Let me get it a little bit higher, because right when I look at that picture, it's not on his hair as much as I want. I'm just getting it here. So I'm going to throw it up a little bit higher. All right, look mean. Look happy. Look mean. It's happy. All right. So that hair light went a little bit higher. Now I made a little mistake and I left it in the picture. Now, if I have a choice now where I'm shooting this between doing 12 seconds of post to take that out of there, if it's at the correct distance for the look that I want, then I'll do the post. I'd rather not. So I'm going to move it just back a little bit and raise the power a little bit. But I do like where we're at as far as the hair. And we're dealing with, I really can't. we're up against it. Like I said, everybody's got a plan. Sometimes the space is going to dictate some of the things that we do. We don't like it that way, but we have to sometimes go, what's this space allow us? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to ask him if he can move over just a little bit. Take a baby step that way. There. I moved everything, tried to move at the same distance. Okay. Cross your arms. Turn your body a little bit more. Mirror me. Yep, there you go. No, you were right. Mirror me. There you go. Now. That looks better, I think. It looks better on my camera for sure. What do you guys think? Is that better as far as just trying to create a little bit of drama? Now, this is easy when we're doing something against a black background. Now, what if you're in a situation where you don't have a black background, but you're still looking for that look? If you can go back to process instead of going to recipes, like one of the things that formed how I teach, which I know sometimes sounds a little bit repetitive and a little bit basics, is because the first class that I ever took and the only class that I ever took, unfortunately said, put light A here, light B here, put it at F8, put this one at 125th, put these at these powers. And unfortunately, that only works in that situation at that spot. So recipes to me for this don't work. I need to always be able to fall back to process. So come here real quick. You're gonna stand right here. Now, if I decide that I need pretty much that similar picture, but instead I've got this background back here, I can do the same thing. I'm just gonna now work backwards. I'm gonna say, what's important to me in this picture, depth of field wise? You guys are important, but for this picture, you're not. So we're gonna say, I'm gonna still shoot him at, I'm gonna move it to 5.6 or 6.3, something that's gonna eliminate some of the details back there. But mostly I'm gonna control it with shutter speed and ISO. So if I can get myself a black frame shooting this way, I'll end up with the exact same kind of shot that we just did going this way. I think that's something that people generally like to see, so we're gonna try it. You know what? We're gonna really get funky. We're gonna change our main light source. So I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna use the smaller light source because let's say that he looked at that picture and he said, I still look too kind. I want this. This is my LinkedIn picture for my international arms dealer job. And I need people to be scared of me. All right, so stand right there. Because the last thing that he wants, which way do you feel better looking? But now you got your options. So you tell me, you feel good? That's better for you? Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, thanks, bro. Well, I'm going to shoot that way. Oh, I understand what you're saying. I got you.
Can I throw a bag on that?
Yeah, if it makes you happy.
Chat's already good.
Oh, really? That's fine. All right. There we go. So let's go back to where we started. Let's go back to process. This process is good. So I've turned off A. I've turned off B. I'm at F8 at 200th of a second again. Let's see what happens with that. I think we're going to see a little bit in the background, but not much. So we're seeing just a little bit of Seth's awesome set that he built by hand with blood and sweat. So we see it a little bit. There's going to come a point where it would be easier for me to take it out and post, as much as I don't love that idea, than it would be to change it. What are the lights that are showing up? Is it that one that's over the Sony? Yeah, that's that white. Okay. So I got two choices. I can frame it differently so that's not in the shot anymore, which is what we're going to do. Take a baby step that way. And then we're going to go this way. Okay. Still see it. It's not.
The Sony booth just.
Yeah. It's just going to become one of these situations where I go, whatever. All right. Let's turn on the light. See where we're at. So he told us I look too kind in that picture. So we're going to make him a little, well, a lot. Let's not go half measures. So now I got a smaller light source. I'm gridded. So I'm going to be, and I've moved it a little farther away. So I'm harder all the way around because I don't want, he looked at it, the client looked at it, and said, no, I look too soft. It's you. You said that. That's group B, put it on, there we go. I think we lost the connection.
That's the frame you just shot.
No.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
That's
sense.
his full frame.
It does not make sense. Let's find out. Boom. That was odd. I like the eye there. Do that again. Give me that. Very, very, very like, I'm going to leave that one alone. All right, so that's a good look for you, by the way. So let's look at that. What do we think? You tell me. I know I have an opinion. What do you guys think? Oh, I love that. All right, we can do that. But as far as his exposure, what do we think? He's too bright. All right, so at least twice as bright as he should be. So down one stop. I was at 8, now I'm at 7. We're going to do do the same thing. Nope, keep your body there. Just bring your chin. There you go. Give us that. Yeah. Okay. That's much better. That exposure's good, I think. There is a catch light. It's maybe somewhere right in the middle of those two because maybe he's a little dark right now. So I'll go back 7.4 and take the picture. You didn't give me the face that time. What are you doing? You look a little sleepy in that one.
No, I ain't gonna be able to do that again.
Okay, that was definitely, let's take a baby step this way. There you go. All right, so now focal length, I'm gonna move it back. It should be a little more flattering to him, a little more out of focus in the background. There you go. All right. Now I think that the one, again, same problem that we had earlier. The catch light on that side looks great. We're not quite getting it on this side. So then you got to make it, it's going to be a creative choice. Are we going to take the light and bring it around to the front of him a little bit, which will give us that catch light, but it's going to change the total quality of the light, which is going to be a problem. I agree with you, Nairi. He was definitely a little too bright. So let's add a hair light. There's really not a space to do it. What do you think? Oh, I'd have to drop it in there. Yeah, that's what I think we're going to do. I think that's what we're going to do. Who's strong? You keep winning everything. Go on. They told me to look out for you.
Coming to the plate, Eric Bird.
The winner of all things. Yeah, I'm going to get it. Don't let me knock over your camera. There you go. All right, back to your spot. You're going to sneak in over here. I think that he wants to be the model. You saw him, right? I saw it. All right. You're going to go back as far as you can, but don't knock into any of his blood, sweat, and tear hung stuff. Don't want to hurt him. All right, so you're going to have to get back somehow.
Take the chairs, push them out of the way.
Yeah, there's nobody sitting there. There you go. Don't knock the TV over.
Eric, move.
We're going to make this happen. Doing okay on it. Look at that. Back to your spot. All right, there you go. All right, Eric, you're going to take it back as much as you can. Then you're going to go up a little bit. and tilt it down just a tiny bit. Okay. Pretend that you are, that was a little premature illumination. No? Not you. You're going to come closer. Eric? I know you're having a hard time, Eric, but you can do it. There we go. All right, you ready? And we're going to turn that one on. That's the 8. Oh, that looks much better. What's that? Yeah, he looks good now, right? Yeah, that's like, I think that's the best mix of like, he's giving us his evil playing with the whiskers on his chin. They're not really there. He's kind of doing this, stroking his goatee while we also got some separation, which I'm pretty happy about. Now, let's say that what would I do if I've decided that this is too dramatic and you guys are his evil minions and I want you to be in the picture? What do I do? I see the mouths going, but I'm not hearing anything. I could add a third light, but let's say that this is all I got. Let's slow our shutter speed down. Excellent choice. So we're going to let in more ambient light because every lit picture is 2 separate exposures. So I'm going to drop down. Now, one of the cool parts about using strobes is that I can slow this down a lot because the flash duration means that he's going to stay sharp. The flash is going off at one speed, my shutter's going off at another. So as long as I can stay relatively still, he'll be sharp. You guys might blur a little bit if you decide to move, but we're going to take it down to a 15th because I think that at my age I can still kind of hold a 15th. Let's see where we're at with this after that.
It's only a stabilized camera.
Well, you know, this guy got to always take it away. All right, take a baby step in. All right, let's see where we're at. I can't wait. I'm going to be in the chat talking about you from now on. All right, so now we got a little bit of you guys, but not as much as I'd like. It would probably end up in a situation where I'd have to add a third light for you guys. But let's see what happens once we do throw some of this light on, because some of this light's going to spill forth to you guys. There we go. There we go. Oh, yeah. Chin up a little bit. Chin up. Eric, you're really failing me. Oh, Alex wants to know where that light is. It's at 180 degrees behind. Oh, interesting. So he's tack sharp even though I'm at a 15th. I can keep going slower here. Let's go down to a 5th, see where we're at. We got plenty of depth of field so that you guys would all be relatively in focus. There we go. Notice the exposure on him is not changing. Shutter speed doesn't control the exposure on our subject. The power that I've picked with my light and my aperture does to a certain extent as well. If I changed my aperture right now, that would control some of the power, but I don't do that. Not because I can't. I will change that aperture if suddenly I decide that I want less or more depth of field, not as a way to control the power of the light. I've been in that situation where it seemed easier to do that. But the thing of it is that I'm putting in depth of field as a creative choice. So if I decide mid-shot to go, oh, he's too bright, let me change the aperture so that it changes the power on him, I've changed my depth of field. It's a lot easier now to take my FJX trigger and pick the right amount of power. Just dial it in. If I think he's a little too hot, a little too cold, a little too cool, then we're going to do that. All right, so let's, yes. I hopefully have an answer.
We can put ISO higher.
That is fantastic. Yep. So her question was, what's your name?
Larissa.
Larissa?
Larissa L.
Larissa. Okay. Larissa has a great question, which was, and there's a slide in From Fear to Flash that covers it. It's a great example. Why would I change my ISO? And one of the reasons that I would change ISO is if I was in a situation just like this, where we've all shot that picture at a birthday party, at a bar, at something where we take a picture, the subject's well lit, and the background goes dark right away, pretty much no matter what. And we get to a certain point where we can keep slowing down that shutter speed, but there's going to come a point where I can't handhold it, or you guys are going to be moving. So if you're moving, then that's a problem. So let's think of it that we're shooting a band. You're at the local club. They let you use a flash, which is really nice. They don't always let you do that. But they go, yeah, we want nice pictures of the band. Let's do that. Why would I change ISO? So if I picked a shutter speed, so we just saw him. Even if he moved a little bit, he'd still be sharp. The flash freezes him. But the only parts of these pictures that are going to get frozen are the pictures that the light's hitting. That makes sense, right? If the light hits him, it's frozen. Whatever's in the ambient light is going to get the same kind of motion that it would get if I was shooting that. If I shot a fifth of a second and I moved or you moved, you'd be a blur. So let's say I picked, you're a guitar player, you're the bass player, you're the drummer. You guys are moving. I don't want you guys to be whirling dervishes in the picture. I want you to have the idea of some motion, but I want you to be relatively sharp. So let's say I go 200th of a second. That'd be, let's go even 100th of a second. So we were just at a fifth to get you guys to show up. So fifth to a 10th, to a 20th, to a 40th, to an 80th. That's a giant range of stops difference there. So I go, all right, how can I make you guys brighter but maintain the ability to freeze the action? I could raise the ISO, which is, so you touched it. I wouldn't do it so much with people that aren't moving unless I feel like I have to. But I'm definitely in a situation where if I need more ambient, I'm going to do it. With the cameras now, like I feel comfortable to a relatively high ISO. You know, I'll just play with that. You know, when I shoot concert stuff now, I'm shooting that at like 1600 ISO because then I can turn down the power of my flashes. Even though I'm using flashes in my pictures, I can turn them down, lets my battery life go on forever, which is a great question. That was solid. Thanks, Larissa. All right. Yep. Who's got a camera? Who wants to shoot? Come on up, Eric. You want to still model, or are we going to find a new model? All right, we'll get a new model. You can grab a seat. So everybody, we're going to welcome Eric to the event space here. We're going to get him to do a little something. We're going to start this out as though this was a fresh shoot for you. Okay? Thank you. You're going to model. You got, you look, you got a good look. I think it's going to work good for us. You want to shoot this way or you want to shoot that way? Let's go. Okay, we're going to go that way. Yep. Now, let's give him a seat. I'll give him that stool. Sure. If you don't mind. Okay. I don't know how long this is going to take. So he might have you here for a week. I don't know. I don't know much about Eric.
50 minutes, Eric, right?
So do you think, should we try to plug Eric in?
Adorama?
Yeah.
Second to tether?
I don't know.
Yeah, but what do you got on there?
It's a USB-C?
Yeah, it'll be.
Okay.
I'm not going to work in the same session, but we'll find out.
Well, let's figure it out. This is
So we'll put the white side on a box like that.
Let's see what happens. Again, we're going to reinforce process over recipes. So as long as he listened to anything I just said, it showed up. Yep. As long as he listened to anything I just said, hopefully he can do all this. It shows up.
Your ISO is cranked.
Yeah, we'll fix it. We'll get to it. Let's take your ISO down to 100.
Let's put you on manual. You're on time value right now. Full manual. All right.
All right. So
Take your ISO down.
a couple of things that'll make your lighting life easier, which we're kind of addressing right now. All the camera companies spent a lot of money to get time value, aperture value, P to work pretty well. But if our main goal here is to be creative and to have some control over this, when you decide to shoot flash, put the camera in manual. We're not even talking about TTL or manual on the lights. I prefer manual. There's a room for both of them. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't put the camera in manual when you decide to throw some lights in, because camera company's gonna say, well, 60th is right, and maybe that's not right for you. So we're gonna put it in manual.
So you should be pretty good. We'll leave it at 71.
All right. You feel good looking that way? Is that your way?
Oh,
Do you feel better that way?
Which
No, 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 no. What's your good side, man?
This side.
I feel like that's your good side, I think.
Right.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to him. Yeah. All right, so the Westcott triggers, we've got two triggers. We got the S trigger, which I've been using because I'm shooting on a Sony, and we got the M trigger, which is the multi-brand trigger. It works on everybody else. So we're gonna put it on. We're gonna pick.
He has to take it off of exposure simulation.
No, it overrides the minute when he does that. But let's make sure that we're okay. Okay, flash is working. Let's put these sleep. All right, so let's go through some choices for you, right? So you've got a camera and you got a lens. So you're gonna pick, for better or worse, there's no judgment here. You've got the kit lens, which is variable. So you're gonna have to pick your focal length first. Because if he decides to pick an aperture first and then he just zooms during it, we might end up in a situation where we lose power and you're gonna be saying to yourself, why is this underexposed? Why is this overexposed? Because you changed it. So you're gonna look at him, you're gonna make a decision. What focal length are you shooting? Are you framed out the way you want right now? So he's at 18 millimeters, it's a crop body, so it's somewhere around 27. So he's got 27 going on. That's gonna give him a lot of freedom as far as aperture because he's got inherently more depth of field because he's got a wider lens. How much depth of field would you like, Eric? This is the next thing that goes through my head. And this process is always what's going through my head. It never changes. I kind of internalize it at this point, so it's happening really fast to where I'm not really thinking each step, but I am going through this every time I do this. How much would you like to be in focus? There's not a wrong answer.
I guess as much as focus as I can be.
So let's go F8. You feel good about F8? All right, F8 and be there. So he's picked F8. If whatever he'd have picked at this point, we'd have been good. As long as he tells me that he's doing it because it's what he wants. If he's doing it because, like, one of the big things to me, one of the reasons I love lights is it allows me to free my camera, to make all these creative choices myself. I don't like the camera making the choices for me. So that's why I shoot in manual. It's why I shoot, my ISO right. It's why I like to shoot, manual with the lights. All right, so we've turned off these. Now let's pick a shutter speed. Inside, we haven't talked about high-speed sync. We don't need to talk about a high-speed sync in here necessarily, although it would work. But for this, we're gonna say, let's go 200th because it's probably the normal sync speed on this camera. And I'm gonna be sure that I'm gonna give myself this black frame. Seth's got these beautiful lights around us, and if we decide to shoot this at 1/125th or 60th or something like that, we might end up with some spill from the available light that's already in the room. So 200th, it might only go to 1/160th. Is that what it's topping out at?
Yeah.
So the top sync speed on this camera is 1/160th of a second. That's something that's important for you to know. We could obviously go past that if we had to, but we don't have to. Let's take a test shot real quick. Did I lose some? Any questions in the audience while we work this out real quick? Yes, sir.
When you started taking the portrait pictures, you positioned the camera like over here, not at the eye level. We usually.
No, it's a solid question. The main reason is that I'm Yeti sized. If I shoot here on anybody who is shorter than me, I'm going to end up tilting just a little bit. Now, a little bit, you're probably not going to see. But if I don't pay attention and I tilt too much, you're going to end up like that old Steve Madden ad with the big heads and the small bodies if I tilt this way. Same thing if I went the other way, we'd end up with a bigger this. I want to keep the camera flat as much as I can for this, unless, again, I'm doing it for a purpose. If I've got a reason to shoot at a certain focal length or a certain tilt or a certain if I'm doing something on purpose, yeah, it's just the raw. Doesn't.
Yeah.
Apologize for this getting slow at the last second here. We were doing pretty good for a bit, but Eric came up and messed up the whole thing. We're gonna blame Eric. So I tend to do that. 5 years ago, if I would have seen somebody shooting like this, I inherently was like, about it. But as I've gotten older, first off, my knees don't work as good as they did. But secondly, like when I was younger, I shot film this way. There's really not something wrong with doing it.
But that makes sense. But,
Yeah. I just like it to be flat.
when it's flat, you try to put it in
Somewhere around the eye.
level or
Yeah, somewhere around eye level. One of the beautiful things about the modern mirrorless cameras is that the main thing to me is the focus points go top to bottom. When I'm teaching, sometimes I'll have somebody come up and I see them leaving a ton of space at the top. And I go, you just recently were shooting SLRs, weren't you? And their answer is always yes, because they're so used to having to have so much dead space at the top. The mirrorless body is like, so I can bring it down, frame it the way I like, and the focus point's going to go to the eye anyway. So, all right. All right, let's see where we're at. So we've established a black frame. Let's turn on group B. Let's aim it at our subject. Let's take a test shot. Is that out of your frame?
Yep.
Okay, this is not though, I assume, right? All right. Okay. Any one of those should be all right. All right. So when you look at it, what do you think? He's not enough light, right? All right, so that's cool. Now, as you learn, you'll know that at f8 on a 400 watt light that you need more power than where we were. But right now, he used the first time he used this light, first time he's done some lighting here live on stage in front of 1 million people at home. He's nervous. He didn't think about it. So we're gonna come down to group B. We're gonna press that. I'm gonna say 2.5 stops. This is a guess. All right, go ahead, take a picture. He really likes to.
I think he's
No, he doesn't have a lot of finger control. It's all right. You're doing good. How do you feel about that one? You can look over here or up there. Or...
Much better.
Much better or good?
Good.
All right. You sure?
So I see the shadow on his face a little bit, but I like
What do you think?
I actually think it's good. I'm kind of sinking into the darkness a little bit.
He's sinking into the darkness a little bit,
Yeah.
he says. He says, I really want that little bit of salt and pepper I've been working out to show up in this frame.
okay.
You started, man. I'm gonna let you have it. All right. So let's give him a hair light. Because that's always one of the questions I get from people is like, how many lights should I buy? What do I need? And the answer is you need one. When you decide that you've gotten everything you can get out of that and you feel like you can more creatively express yourself, tell a better story, get a second one. Then there's going to come a point where you've mastered that. Get a third one or a fourth one. But we're going to add him another light. I'm going to get out of the way as much as I can. Now we're backwards from where we were before, but we're going to be close. I think that I'm going to be really close to him because of the space. Is that out of your shot? Okay. Look at him, man. Make some eye contact. Look hard. Look tough. How do you feel about that one? You're happy with that? Eric, good job. Eric, what do you think? Now, do you think you could do that yourself? So what would you do different? Let's just be real critical of ourselves in this last 3 minutes. What would you do to make it different or better?
I guess.
Let's see what would happen if we brought the main light more in front of him. He says he wants to see what would happen if we brought the main light more in front of him. Just because he wants to see what that's going to look like. Yeah, we're good. Wait, hold on a second. Let's do this one first. Come on, man. You're going to really let that go? Okay. There's two of them. All right. So, I had to make that happen. All right. Now give me that. So separation turned out nice. But I still think that we're not getting quite enough light in his eyes. Like, I'm looking at it. And what's your name, man?
Devin.
Devin?
Go by Danae.
What do you go by?
Danae.
Is it, if I give the first name, or is the
still
cops coming? Or?
Both is my
Okay, we're good. Okay. So D, it's just going to be D. So D is got between his pose that he chose, and he's got a well-formed forehead. This light being up on top is throwing us some shadows. So we got a couple of choices, and we're going to be done in a second, Seth. Right? All right. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit, but then I'm going to raise it a little bit. So frame your shot up, and I'm going to raise this until you can't see it. So just look through and tell me when you don't see it anymore. Out of your shot. All right. Can you go a little bit lower? All right. Can you see it now? No? Can you see it now? Can you see it now? All right. Don't go that low. All right. Let's just take that shot real quick without the second light. So we got all that drama back in for sure. And if we zoom in on just his face, I bet you we got a little more catch light, but I can't tell for sure. So let's do this.
Just tilt it.
I'm going to tilt it a little bit, and we're going to turn up that power a little bit. This is slow down. Just one shot. Pretend you're Eminem. You got one shot. Are you? Oh, it can take it. All right, hold on, Eric. So he keeps tilting down. All right, there. Give it a little bit more room to hit him. Go ahead. All right, let's see that. You're looking pretty hard.
You said look.
I know. I was like, man. All right, and then you get one last one, and then you got to hit him up to make sure he gives you these pictures. But mostly the one I want you to post is the one with me and you. We look very cute together.
Absolutely.
All right, wait, let's do this real quick. There, is that out of your shot? Okay. There. We ended up with, it's not bad, but we ended up with it in the shot. All right, do one more. Does anybody got any questions from home before we shut this down? So because Eric's not using his lens hood, we're getting a little bit of lens flare because this is aimed back at him. Way to go, Eric. Am I out of your frame now? Is there any questions that need an answer, Seth? How do we feel about that?
I'm definitely popping. This is an ideal picture.
You like that one?
A little bit more harsh on the top.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit above, but you're gonna use this for your Tinder?
Oh, absolutely.
We're cool. All right.
Absolutely. It's definitely going up.
All right, brother. Eric, you have fun?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Is there any more questions here?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming out. Any questions? Is that because I was so boring that you got nothing, or because I covered what you wanted to hear about? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys. What am I at? Anything that we need to address?
No. Do you want to do a follow me, whatever, blah, blah?
What's that?
Do you want to do a follow me at whatever, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. If you guys follow me at JCPhotoMedia, that'll make me feel good about myself. Thank you. Appreciate you. Aside from that, guys, one last thing, we can stop streaming real quick because this is only for the people in the store. Because if you don't show up, you don't get this cool benefit that I'm about to talk about.
Why don't you do a proper sign off and then I'll close the stream out.
Hey, everybody, it's JC from Westcott. And thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Remember to support the places that support you.
Yes.
It's a lot of free education on this channel. Seth, all jokes aside, kills himself to make this happen. There are places there's a million places that you guys can buy stuff. For us, price is the same everywhere. To support the places that support you. One twig, easy to break. A community, we get a bunch of twigs, hard to break. Be a community. Support those places that make this possible for you. The first bunch of you got some kind of
Everybody
a
clap so I can
bonus.
sign up. Everyone clap.
Everybody clap, please. All right.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody who's here with us live. To everybody who's out on the stream, thank you for taking some time to be here with us. For those of you who don't know me, also thank you, first of all, Adorama and Seth and Teresa for having me. This is indeed my first live shoot presentation. I may be a little nervous, but not too nervous, but I'm very excited to be here. Oh, hello. Cool. So my name is Charles Chessler. I'm a New York City-based portrait and headshot photographer. I'm late to the game. I started making my full-time living doing what I love, which was this when I was 57 years old. I'm the poster child for never, ever giving up on your dreams. Started out life as an actor, gave it up for many reasons. And I love what I do. I'm floating up here with energy and yeah, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Today's presentation and shoot is, if you're an advanced shooter, you might find it a little boring, maybe not. I'm going to be going over the basics. And it is indeed about one light that you can carry. So I came on the subway like this downtown, and this is how I'm going to be going home. And we're not going to be using hair lights, kicker lights, backlights, and stuff like that, but we can get a really nice professional image using the most basic gear. So I'm going to be setting everything up. I'm going to tell you what I use, how I travel, all of that. There are a lot of choices. I'm a Westcott shooter. When they first introduced the FJ400 back at Photo Plus years ago, they actually lent me a pre-production one, and it hit the great price point for me. And the light quality and the color consistency, all of that stuff. So I've dug into Westcott for all of these years. So with no further ado, I'm going to start setting up. Because I'm not a polished presenter, I'm going to try and make sure I talk and do at the same time, which is an amazing talent. All right. So this is my think tank, Airport Advantage XT. And I've got my camera and I got my strobe and batteries and stuff in there, a light stand. I have a light stand in here. I've got my modifier, just using one modifier, a 43-inch bounce umbrella with some diffusion so you can see what you can do with that one piece. I was going to bring a beauty dish switch to show some other stuff with a grid, but I kind of timed out when I was trying it. So it's like, this is going to fill an hour, especially the way I like to talk. So this is my favorite bag. It's a speed top. I'm a think tank guy. I use for my daily carry. It carries all the stuff like my coffee and things like that. So I'm just going to pop some stuff back here. I'm going to unpack some stuff and we're going to get started getting some stuff going. So, and if there are questions, I will try to take them if we get to the point. For those of you who are in the audience, if we get to the end and haven't answered a question, I'll be able to stay as long as they want. For those of you who are online, if we don't get to your question, I will try to answer when I get home or over the next few days. And I'm going to try and keep moving while I'm talking. So in here, I have a 43-inch wide umbrella. I've got a diffusion panel that's going to soften the light. Just pop this down here. Then I've got this flash point. It's a reflector holder. And what I like about it is there's a ball head so it can rotate up and down so you can lift it up, put it on the side, all kinds of stuff like that. And this, by the way, I'm going to show the difference. I used to just use this Manfrotto reverse stand, which you can use under controlled environment to hold your strobe. But I wanted something a little bit stronger, but still portable. I'm going to be using this to hold the reflector to bounce light in a little bit later. But I found my way to this Manfrotto stand and all the numbers and the technical stuff. It's like it's a 1004 BAC. This is for me the absolute best balance of size, portability, and solidness that I've ever used. So this has become my main for my key light.
And they click together. If you get multiples, they snap together.
You can get 3 of them.
You do have a question of why you're choosing an umbrella today over a softbox.
The reason I'm choosing the question is why I'm choosing an umbrella over a softbox is because I wanted to really appeal to people who are just starting out to get the least expensive, simplest thing that you can carry. So umbrellas you can get super, super cheap, whether it's shoot through or you're bouncing the umbrella, and I should keep moving while I'm answering the question. And softboxes tend to get a little bit more expensive. You might have more control. I was going to bring a beauty dish with a grid, and you can really control the spill of the light really well with that. But I wanted to keep this as simple as basic, especially to appeal. I'd like to inspire people who are out there or here who have never tried this to go ahead and try. Because life is short, and if you've been thinking about doing it, but you're scared of doing it, you can get in for a pretty reasonable price. So that's a long answer for that. So this is what makes the portability. So for having a backdrop that's portable, this is a Westcott X-Drop Pro. It's lightweight, but a very stable stand. And then they have these fabric backdrops. And I have a 5x7 with me, which is absolutely fine and all you need for doing headshots. You can do this for corporate stuff. You can do this for actors. You can do it for people's LinkedIn. And let's see if I can show it in the bag like that. Nice and easy to carry. So I'm out of shape. I'm 63 years old and I can carry this. So just about anybody can. I really, really believe that. I used to be in shape, so I know of what I speak. So there's a base and the extender arms, and these also will hold 8x8 in their widest setup and 8x13, pretty large setup. So if you've got a group, you'll be able to do that with some ease. So I'm gonna start actually walking through the setup of the backdrop. And I'm gonna be curious how much time it takes me to get this set up while I'm chatting with you guys. And we're gonna move this out of the way. We're now over here. So in the 5x7 position, there are two lengths of the legs. You just use one of them for the 5x7. You would use the second one if you're doing an 8x8 or 8x13. So you roll this bad boy out like this. And by the way, I am not smooth and polished. It takes me time to do stuff. And when I'm doing a shoot for a client, whether it's corporate work, I make sure that I'm there like an hour before. And if I can, I have an assistant to help me. And I'll do a test shot so that the first, especially with corporate clients, first person who comes in, if I have like 2 minutes with them, I want it to be spot on, the exposure, the whole thing, right? All the setup like that. So let me turn myself around like this.
They say, wow, you don't look 63. What's your secret?
So, you know, I love what I do and I'm inspired. And again, life is short and I really, there we go. Really highly recommend not waiting and doing something you love within the context of whatever your limitations are in your life immediately. So as you can see, this is the position that this would be, and it has quite a lot of depth. What I love about this, though, is that you can narrow that depth. So we have the constraints of a pretty tight space here. And so this is very helpful in condensing that. Also, because we're not using a C-stand, because I can't carry one, we'll have some constraints because we're using the Manfrotto stand as well, but it's entirely doable. So this, basically, you can bring this in like this, and then on the back one, you just do that, and I kind of get it as close as I can to match what would be a good angle, and I tighten that down, and then I'll readjust that as I need. But now, this is the depth, right? Next, you've got the 3 extender arms. The short one goes in the middle. There are 2 positions on the side, and that hook comes forward. So this locks into the 5x7 position. There's a little button, you just press this, it spreads out to the 8x8, and those bottom legs would be extended, and you need a fair amount of space to do that. But it makes working with this stuff easy. these fabric backdrops, they come in a million different colors, or maybe 15. And I have yet to steam mine, but they're pretty wrinkle-free, and they're advertised as being wrinkle-free. And this is the start with the tag on there. But what I love about this is, so I can carry 3 of these this size in that bag to a shoot. So I can offer something neutral like this, but I can also bring red or green or whatever somebody's, if working with an actor or a model, whatever their colors are, to complement that, whether it's skin tone or they have an idea about what kind of wardrobe they want to be wearing. They want to be saying something. So here we go. Locked into the hooks. We're gonna, we won't knock you over. Now, basically there are 2 other extensions on here. So for this, with the 5x7, what you do is the top one, you go all the way to the end. On this, if you're using the 8x8, they're gonna both be extended all the way, right? So there we go. And then the bottom one, you just kind of get a feel. They're not going to go all the way, but after you've done it for a few times, you get pretty close. And again, if I'm doing this for a shoot, I'm getting there early and I'm getting this set up before. I'm not setting up and talking to the client like I'm talking to you guys. And then I take a look and I say, I want to extend that a little bit farther on that side just to even it out. So one of the best bits of advice that I ever heard or received, somebody asked, I was at a presentation 15 years ago. It was a famous photographer. And they said, what is, if you had one piece of advice to give? And he said, slow down. So if you're doing a professional shoot, arrive early, be prepared, slow down. You can troubleshoot anything that might go wrong or not. So for me, this is pretty good. It's nice and taut, and it should photograph pretty evenly. I might want to run this through a dryer a little bit. That will help if there's any crinkles and stuff like that. So that's our backdrop. The next thing I'm going to do is set up our key light. So here's our Manfrotto stand. And there we go. So extend this all the way. And I just want to see, so I'm going to have everything straight down the middle. Since this is set up over here, I'm going to slide this a little bit this way. So Nicole, could you come sit over here so I don't block you? And I'm going to see where I want the stand. I'm probably going to have it over here. So I like to get everything centered. So I'm going to slide this all the way there. And I do this by eye, but I want everything right down the middle. And this as far back as I can. And that looks pretty good to me. And I just take a look like that. And I take a look like that. And we'll see if we adjust this afterwards or not. This is going to be our stand to support our reflector to bounce light in underneath. So I'm just going to open this out for now. And I just remembered when I set it up earlier, there are little things like I want the arms, the levers, on the left side here. And we're going to put this just on the side for a second. Over here. And this is going to be our reflector holder with the flash point. I'm going to put this over here for now as well. And actually my favorite part, so this is our modifier. And I mark everything. I use little bags and stuff like that. So I have them in tubs and then I can grab what I need. And when I go home, because I live in a New York City apartment, I can put stuff away and it's neat. It's like running any business, a restaurant. They mop, they put the chairs up. When I get home for a shoot, I put everything back where it belongs. Generally, the idea is that the larger the light source is and the closer it is to your subject, the softer it's going to be, right? So this is 43 inches. It's okay. Normally, I'd be using a 53-inch umbrella if I were using an umbrella or a 7-foot umbrella. Setting up an umbrella, for years, this is my favorite thing in the world. I used to open the umbrella and then put the diffusion panel over it, right? Well, move it around and stuff. And I would do that in the street. I shoot down in Cortland Alley a lot with a 36-inch softbox. But another guy you should follow, who's got amazing content, changed my life about a year ago, Gavin Hoey. And he showed this, and I don't know where he saw it, but it makes so much sense when you think about it. Don't step on your umbrella and break it because you might not be able to use it. So you just come through the top here, welcome. And then you just let the umbrella slide. How about that? Right? Worth the price of admission. You guys paid a lot.
You guys can clap for that.
This
You
is-
can make them feel good. You can clap for it. You can clap.
So this is the kind of thing that tickles me pink and that keeps me feeling like a 9-year-old. And because, you know, it's, if you want to work for money, it's serious. You're in exchange for money for a service you're doing, but we also want to have fun and we want to play, because that's a big part of photography. So if you can get your thing down, what you do, and know that you can deliver with clients and then be present and play in the moment with them, especially if I'm working with an actor or an actress, you're golden. It's a little different if I'm working with the CEO of a medical company or something like that, but you can also find how to connect with them. That's really the most important thing after all the technical stuff. So why any modifier? Why an umbrella? Why a softbox? So basically with light, as I said earlier, and as I'm sure all of you know, the larger the light source and the closer it is in relation to your subject, the softer and more pleasing it's going to be. So what's our challenge as traveling photographers is having a light source big enough, but being able to walk around with it. So here, as mentioned, so this is my think tank bag. We can see that. Yeah, I don't want to go all the way over. And these things are amazing. They're bulletproof. I've taken this to Italy. I work with a wildlife conservation nonprofit in South Africa. I go to South Africa with this thing. It's amazing. And so this, and there are smaller light sources. So this is the FJ400, right, from Westcott. So this light source, and if you want to use hard light and would just build the regular reflector, this light source is this big. So the beauty of working with an umbrella or a softbox is that with portability, this is going to become this big. So we're getting softer light, right? Any questions about that? No? Good. Now, another little tip. So your light, when you're putting it on your light stand, wherever you're hanging it off of, you want the weight to be over one leg. Much less likely to tip over like that. If I do it like that, more of a chance that it will tip over like that, right? These are all the basics. So this has a tilter bracket built in, so I can loosen it. I know that I'm going to be kicking that back at an angle a little bit, and then I'm going to tighten that up. These are great, these handles, and I'm sure many other manufacturers, you can press it, you can move that so that you can work with it a little bit better. Next step. Loosen up the bracket where it attaches to the light stand. And there we go, making sure it's lined up. And I actually didn't get this the way. So just because visually, and it's also aligns perfectly, I want it over the Manfrotto logo, and that's balanced evenly. It probably won't make a difference in the image, but it's just paying attention to little things like that gives me a sense of control. I do a lot of outdoor work, and I'll hold a reflector underneath where the natural light where it's good, and I'll usually have an assistant holding a reflector, and I'll take 4 or 5 pops, and then we'll redo it. I'll take the reflector back and reposition it after we take a look at those images, even if it's going to be the exact same space, to reconnect me with the subject and have that sense of control for the next 5 or 20 images that we shoot. So I'm going to tip this back a little bit. Not an exact science. I'm going to loosen up the hole where the umbrella goes. I'm going to put my $3 old man glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to do this with my left hand, which is a little scary for me since I'm a righty. And we're going to slide this in. And one of the nice things, so I'm going to take off the protector part here. That's the official term, the protector part. And I'm going to rotate this. So the bulb bulges out and it's round, so it really fills your softbox really, really nicely. It's one of the things I love about this, and I'm sure other manufacturers have the same thing. We want to make sure it goes in far enough so we're not losing anything. So that, by eye and experience, is about right. And then, because this could be a little dangerous, forgive my back, I got this stuff online, cut it, put that there so nobody pokes an eye out, right? I'm going to be the only one near here theoretically, but good to do. So next we're going to raise this up, and I'm going to have this, even though it's only 43 inches, it will wrap around enough to give nice light to my subject, Nicole. So I'm going to put this, I usually put it just where it's sort of, just my head is just at the bottom, like that. And again, I want to reiterate what I'm doing. I see as a, oh, let me get back. Reignite this here. Went to sleep. There we go. Reignite this. Detecting camera. Pop this over here. So like any education, take what you learn and make it your own. My idea with this today is just to give a foundational thing so you can do what you want. Take what you like, throw out what you don't. Come see Peter Hurley next week. Take what you like from him, combine them or not, whatever works for you, right? Because it's your shoot. So I'm going to realign myself again. This looks pretty good to me. I'm actually going to move this a bit. I'm going to move this back. I'm going to make use of as much of the space as I can. And we're good? Huh? No, actually, it's fine. And we're going to see how tight we need to be, or how tight we are. Like that. And that's good. I'm going to turn this on, which is always a good idea if you're using something to turn it on. And I'm just looking at the position from my client's point of view. And there we go. And I am, yeah, okay. So I'm going to get my trigger.
You guys are basically, you all right? No questions? All right.
So here's the beauty of being a photographer these days. We have a trigger which talks to the light. It's radio, so don't need wires. You don't need it to be in view. It can be around the corner. I'm going to put my old man glasses on. And for those of you who are just beginning, so you want to make sure that your channel is the same on your trigger. This is for any brand. And then your group, right? The beauty of these things is key light is going to be in group A. If I had a background light, that might be group B. If I had some hair lights, those might be group C, and you can change those all independently from your camera. I'm going to do a little test pop. So it's working. And the reason I do a test pop before putting it on my camera is because I want to make sure, so this connection is good. If I have a problem when I put it on the camera, I know there's something in terms of the connection needs to be clean, needs to be jiggled a little bit. So it's good to discern that. And let me put, there's a modeling light, so you can get an idea. What you see is what you get, what's going on. And, yeah, we can kill the lights. Let me make sure, oh, there you go, we are on. So everybody you've ever seen do a presentation does this first step. Does anybody know what the first step is? I can't, speak up.
Blind the sensor.
Blind the sensor. Well, not, I wouldn't say it like that. We're going to get a dark image, right? I don't want any of the ambient light in the space affecting. I want to control the light on my subject with my light, my reflector, or my lights, plural. So I'm going to tell you what my settings generally are. I may have to adjust them for the light, ambient light that's in here. I start with aperture because of the depth of field that I want. So I have a sweet spot and it's 7.1. It might seem a little random, but you don't want to shoot at f2, f1.4 necessarily when you're doing studio work. If I'm outside, my favorite lens ever is, I'm a Canon shooter. And all the brands are good, by the way. I just started with Canon. It was the first camera I got, so I stayed with it 15 years ago. Forget what I was going to say, but that's okay. Oh, so I start with the aperture because I want to control the depth of field. So I'm starting with 7.1. Now I'm going to say something that a lot of people will disagree with, but it works for me. So I have an R5, and any camera in the last 5 years, the ISO quality is excellent. I put ISO 400. I don't start at ISO 100. Why, Charles, do you do that? I do that because it will help my strobe recycle quicker, and I can use a lower power on the strobe so that it lasts longer and I get that quicker recycling. Then the last thing, which could be the first thing as well, is I'm at 1/160th. You want to be under your maximum sync speed. It could be 200, 1/250th. I can break that down about the curtains and how that works. Maybe I'll do that at the end if there's time or afterwards. So I'm going to take a first test shot, and what I want is a dark screen. And I've never worked with these lights, so I'm going to just focus out here. Where am I? There. And then go towards where I'm looking. And are we coming in here? Yeah. So I have a dark screen. You can see on the histogram, it's all the way to the left. I might look at my image and then I might look at the info on the back, and I'm sorry you can't see mine, and it's all the way back. And I have room to wiggle. So let's get that out like that. Is there a question? Oh, the monitors are out? No, it's a black screen because I just shot a black screen. Yeah. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, now that we know that I've got a clean image without any light filtering into it, and if you watch actually also Daniel Norton, who's great, and he's also technically, and these guys are way beyond me.
He's all right.
He's okay. But he will, in Capture One, make sure that he's like a stop and a half or 2 stops below. So if he has to bring anything up, he knows that he has room for shadows to come up, and it won't affect the ambient light, won't enter into it. And it's a great kind of thing to know. So I'm going to now pop that on. That tells me that it's working. And at this point, yeah, I think we're good. And good, half an hour to get to shooting, not too bad. So I'm going to have Nicole step in. And Nicole, I met a few weeks ago. I have the pleasure of doing headshots for one of the best acting schools twice a year, Atlantic Acting School. And Nicole is a recent graduate. So I photographed her and I said, hey, would you like to come model? And she was like, what? No, she was like, okay. So I'm going to ask Nicole to face me and then step back a little bit right there. Now, when we get our exposure, there's the subject to light distance. And once we lock that in and get a good exposure, we want to keep that. One of the limitations about working in a small space is about being able to pull your model back off of the background if you're using one light in order to darken the background. All things being equal, if you have that distance set together, you can then darken by moving back and forth. But there's plenty of space to do what we need to do here. So I'm going to take a test pop. So I do not use a light meter. I'm not advocating to not do it. Somebody who's another great photographer, you should follow Ian Spanier, is a buddy of mine, and he's king of the light meter, and he's great. And Ian, one day I will start using a light meter. So I'm going to guesstimate an exposure, and I'm going to put, just from experience, I'm going to put my power level at 6. With the Westcott stuff, it's 1 to 9. 9 is full power, 8 is half power, 7 is quarter power, and down and down and down from there. General stuff, you should know, every stop, you either double or half the amount of light. I'm not going to get into all of that today. So, hi, Nicole.
Hi.
So then you need to connect, right? How delightful is Nicole? So I'm going to photograph Nicole like this right now, and I'm going to tell you a couple of things that I would work with an actor or actress once we get a decent exposure. So Nicole, that's great. Just good. Bring your chin a little down for me. Beautiful. How you doing? So let's see. Okay. So I have a little bit of a vignette. This is automatically coming in. How does that look to you guys up there? Does it looks okay? So I guesstimated correct. I'm at a power level of 6 with Nicole. That's great. And it looks better up there than it does on my monitor. Oh, those are calibrated. That's cool. So you'll notice, though, we have some shadow under the chin. The placement I managed to get just right. We have a nice catch light up at the top, and we're getting a nice spread of light. So we've done that. So for me, this, you could remove the vignette, but this is absolutely usable for a headshot for somebody. We're going to add a couple other things, though, to switch it up. For actors and actresses, you have to think that a casting director or an agent is looking at a screen with 20 photos. And what we really want to highlight, we want to get some emotion in the eyes, and we want the eyes to be well lit, and there be connection so that somebody sees that and they pop out from the other 19 people on the screen. So the next thing I'm going to do, and Nicole is actually a natural, and I'm glad she's kind of standing up tall like this, but the next thing in terms of the connection, and this is one thing you can do with everybody that you work with. So I'm going to say, Nicole, put your weight on one leg and pop a hip. Yeah, as if you're seeing some old friends, and put your thumbs in your jeans. Cool. There we go. So we're already a little bit more rooted. And this is arguably the most important part of working with people, getting them dropped in, connected, and you seeing what's going on with them. All right, so I'm going to take another snap. Good, and eye of the tiger, beautiful. Can we get a little smile? Yes, nice, nice, nice. So I love working with Nicole because she's just totally natural and unforced. We get a really, really nice emotion from her kind of immediately. And if I were doing a shoot, somebody hired me, my shoots are 60 to 90 minutes, we would have a lot of time to play with a range of emotions. I'll share something. So I was an actor. I had the pleasure of studying with David Mamet at NYU back in the 80s, and the Atlantic Acting School and Theater Company grew out of that. And the method of working, there are these 3 steps, but the middle step is what the essence of the person is doing. And they also have, Stanislavski had something called a magic as if. So you would suggest something. So I just want to imagine if you would all close your eyes for a second, and if you were working with me and we wanted to get something loving, very dropped in, very tapped. If I asked you all to think of a grandparent, living or dead, but if they're dead, not sad, who you adored, and maybe it's Booby, and imagine if they're not alive, you're reaching across time and you're hugging that grandparent and saying, I love you so much. And if you breathe into your belly button and you allow yourself, you allow me to guide you, it's going to take you to a place that's going to get some emotion. You all can open your eyes, or you can enjoy saying hi to your boobies while you're here. So I'm going to ask Nicole, do you have a grandparent who you adore? Living or not?
Not living.
Not living. Okay, but we want to think of this as joyful. I don't want her to be sad, right? So can you give me a first name?
His first name?
Yeah, whichever yeah.
Clarence.
Clarence.
Yes.
So I'd like you to breathe into your belly button, and I'd like you to imagine you're talking to Clarence and hugging him from the beyond. What I'd like you to say, just not very loud, is, Grandpa Clarence, I love you so much. So, yeah, and breathe into it. So, giggling from my acting training is a little bit of a defense, and the real emotion is just on the other side of that. You have to earn the trust of your subject if you want to go to places like that, like this. So, Clarence.
Clarence.
Yeah, good. And say, Clarence, I love you. I miss you and I love you.
Dad, I love you so much.
Beautiful. Breathe. Yes. Nice. And down with the chin a little. Beautiful. And now let's imagine Clarence is saying, girl, I am with you always. I believe in you 1,000%, and I know you're going to get everything that you want. And now just say very gently, I love you.
Love you, Granddad.
Smile nice and easy. Beautiful. And now go, hey! Yes! So we break it up a little bit like that, end on something joyful. So I have no idea what we're getting here. Okay. So, maybe not a perfect headshot, but we're starting to approach getting some emotion. So I just wanted to introduce a little bit of that. So we're at 5:35. The next thing I'm going to do, as you see again, we had shadows and stuff. So I'm going to set up a reflector, and wherever I've put everything, over here and over here. And it takes me some time to do everything. And I'll be nestled in between, which is fine. And so the sandbag police, I'm very, very aware of this. Don't worry, I'm not going to knock over it. This is super solid. If I were on a set and I had a bunch of people, we'd have a C-stand, or I'd stand on this, or I'd have an assistant just keeping a hand on it. That's what I do if I'm shooting out in the streets. If I'm using a light outside, I always have somebody with a hand on a light once it's up in the street. So I remember that I wanted to put this way when I set this up earlier, with these on the left side. And in this case, I want the leg towards me. The weight is not a big deal. I have a question.
So someone in the chat's asking, you have the white balance set to daylight. How do you decide what white balance without a calibration color card?
Well, I'm shooting raw, and a lot of people even shoot on auto with raw, but these lights are daylight white balanced. And so I set for daylight. And then what I'm looking at another question that's coming after that. And so afterwards, if I want to adjust it a bit because of the skin tone of the person I'm working with, or if I'm on my, this is about to go out, let me save it. Or if I'm working on my laptop and I get home and it's not quite calibrated as my desktop, let me take a photo. Boom, detecting the camera. Sorry, guys. So this is like my first time tethering and doing it live. So let's hope that comes on out. So basically, you're shooting in RAW. It's a reason to shoot RAW, and you can adjust it without damaging the image file at all. And you can, I will often photograph 20 or 30 people in a day. And so with the first image of each person, I can fine tune and adjust it the way I want to. I don't think so. Camera is on. Let's see what's going on. I took a photo before, like that. So maybe I'll just restart this. Okay, cool. He's one of the only people I would trust with my stuff. So yeah. So with each person, if I have 20 of them, I'll fine tune that white balance on the first image, and I'll just paste it on to the others. It's one of the great things. So I'm a Lightroom guy because that's where I started. Framing. So the question is, what's the framing rules for headshots? So generally, for actors, just above the head, there are plenty of photographers who like to cut in. It's really salt and pepper to taste. Do what works for you, but one really good piece of advice around that is ask your client what they want. When in doubt, shoot too wide so that you can crop in. For corporate stuff, cool, I'll move that up. For corporate stuff, frequently, I'll shoot horizontally and wide because they want a square crop for their LinkedIn or for their websites. And that gives plenty of room to do that. Let me just move this here, and there we go. Okay, for not being used to working on a laptop, I'm doing okay. Any other questions? Actually, okay, I'm gonna turn this around so I look less goofy. So this is the flash point. This is a reflector holder, and I love it because there's a ball head so that I can adjust it down and up, and also you can put it up and change it all around and all that kind of stuff.
They're asking what lens you're using.
Okay, so I'm shooting with a Canon R5, and I'm shooting with, and this is the part, let me see if I can walk and chew gum at the same time while I'm doing this. This goes on this side. So I'm shooting with the 85mm RF, the RF 85mm f2, which is the inexpensive 85mm, because when I got this camera, that's all I could afford at the time. It's a $600 lens. It's a cheap one. Would I like to have the whatever, 1.2, 1.4? Yeah, but I don't need it for the work that I do. If I start making a fortune, yeah, I want that. I want the 1.2, the 50mm, all of that. The first big one that I did invest in, the 135 f1.8 for the Canon RF, is just beautiful. And again, that's for outdoor, which is when you want that shallow depth of field. And with back button autofocus and eye detection, I can shoot somebody halfway down the block, full length, back button, it'll grab the eye and Everything else goes out beautiful, creamy. I love, love, love doing that. That answer the question? Cool. All right. Now, some other stuff that I do is I mark things so that I don't have to, anything that's repetitive. So this I got actually was brand new today. So I know exactly how long it needs to be. Oops, I actually did the wrong thing, but that's okay. That's the midpoint. So the extender part of this, I'm bringing out, and I marked it with some silver, a silver Sharpie, so I could see where I stop. And theoretically, this should be dead on for the size of the reflector that I'm using, which is a 40-inch reflector. Anything that's repeating, right? I moved this. I had it set to be perfectly centered, so I'm going to move it back so it's pretty centered, like that. Because I told you, I'm a little bit controlling that way. And now all I have to do is remember where I put my reflector. This is an old Omega bag, but it's a great bag that I held on to. And I carry my 40-inch reflector in it. I can carry diffusion in the front of it like that. So the other thing I've marked for this, so I'm using a white umbrella and I'm gonna match it with the silver for some pop. You know, silver is a little bit more contrasty, gives a little more pop indeed like that. I don't mind doing that. Also, because I'd marked this for where it attaches with a little bit of a silver Sharpie, right? So if you're shooting 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, how many times a week, you want some stuff automated. You don't want to not be thinking about it. You want to pay attention to what you're doing, but you want it, if it's a repetitive thing you do over and over again, you want it to be a little bit automated. Okay, and we're back. Thank you. Good. And this is pretty flat that way. So I'm going to bring this very close to Nicole for the bounce, and I'm going to adjust this. We're going to shoot it. I just always like to show the difference. That's the wrong one. Good. And this. So we're going to tip it like this first, so you can see the difference, and we're going to tip it the other way to see what happens. Exact same spot. And we'll see if we need to adjust the power output, because we're kind of adding light, right, with this. And let's get that over there, not pull anything out. I am good. Seth has got my back. 545. So weight on one leg, pop a hip. Good. Beautiful. If you see it, don't do anything to screw it up, right? We already have rapport. So let's see what this reflector does. Hopefully that's coming in. Yep. Does anybody see a difference? Do you see how we filled in under the chin there? All right, looks kind of nice. I love this look. Again, I have a little preset salt and pepper to taste. You may or may not like the vignette. I might lessen that vignette afterwards. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this so it's tipped back to see what happens. And again, mind you, 43-inch umbrella. That's all we're using. You could use, Westcott has an FJ200. It's about the size of a 7200 f4. And you could also probably do this with a speed light. You're just not going to have as fast recycle time or power or a longevity. I have very rarely, even on a long day, needed to, I never plug in. I have a second battery. This lasts forever. The triggers, forget about it. I can't run out with the trigger. I could shoot for a week without needing to replenish. So, hi Nicole, perfect, right? So we make sure that we're connected. Chin down a little for me. Yes, good. Good, 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 good. Isn't she great? Can we get a little round of applause for Nicole? So, and we're waiting to see what that adjustment does, and I should put my $3 glasses. So you see how much brighter that is? For me, it's salt and pepper to taste. It's just that these little adjustments make a difference. So I'm now just going to level this out. Last thing I'm doing, then I'm going to move the light position to get a little something different, right? So, but I could shoot this. So a lot of photographers might call this flat light. I call it even light, and I love it. And again, imagine if you're a casting director, you're looking at 20 headshots on a screen. Nicole's going to pop out because she is bright, she's present, focused on the eyes there. And for the fellow or the gal who asked about the framing, this is how I would normally frame for an actor. We could crop in a little tighter from that if we wanted to, but I like this, so this kind of framing for Nicole. So Nicole's going to pop a hip for me. So every time, yes, good. Now, you see, so step a little this way. Beautiful. And then pop. So sometimes you're dead center and I ask you to pop a hip. Now your head is over here. So I'm like, do that, pop the hip. Good, right? Cool. Okay, I'm sorry you had to see that. Beautiful. And now if I get the smile, an organic smile, beautiful. See what we got there with this level. Last couple of shots. The other thing for me, you need to like people. The most difficult thing, there we go. So maybe a little overexposed. I'm not going to worry about that right now. The most difficult thing as a headshot photographer, as with an actor, or even if it's a CEO, is getting an organic, unpushed smile. And you have to earn respect. You have to tell people not to push too much. And it's a process to get there. And again, mind you, I'd normally be spending 60 to 90 minutes with somebody. I think we're doing pretty good considering, actually, don't move. So I will see something. Bring that chin a little down as if you're checking out, can I trust this person? Good. And we'll have a different look. So Nicole looks good, left, right, straight, anything, right? All right. So that's enough with flat, even light. I'm going to make an adjustment now to the light position. How do we get something more dramatic in a small space like this, right? Well, funny you should ask. I'm going to answer that momentarily. Okay, so that fell flat. I'm just going to move this down like this and out of the way. And we might use this in an elevated. This is why I like this ball head, by the way. We can do that. No, this is a light stand.
Okay.
This is a Matthews reverse stand. I think they have them out. They have a whole table of my kit out there if you guys want to buy stuff. So tell them Charlie sent you.
That's a Matthews mini extendable reverse folding stand, MERF, MERF.
Good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the light, but I'm not going to adjust the power at all. And because I'm moving the light closer, we're probably going to be way overexposed, but let's see what happens. And because I'm careful, because I don't have sandbags on here, I'm going to move this out of the way, zip this up.
We got a question in the chat.
Shoot.
Eric is asking, how do you obtain corporate clients?
Eric is asking, so this is a great, I'll tell you the short answer to this. The best thing I know to do is if you're a photographer wondering what to do, and if there are nonprofits and that you believe in what they do. I work with a couple. I work with an organization called Opening Act that brings theater to underserved public schools. I do free headshots once a year for 150 students. I came out for a weekend and I love doing it. I work with Wild Tomorrow. And so what will happen is if you're working with organizations like this, guess what? They have people on their board, and they're people who have big money jobs. They're also care about people because they're donating their time and their expertise to that. And you do some good work and you can't be pushy. You have to be consistent with work and somebody will start contacting you. One thing, I have a very basic card. It's white with black printing. I hand it out everywhere I go. I don't have my phone number on it, but I have my email address and I have my Instagram because you never know. I did a shoot, all right, Saturday. I have a little bit of time. I did a shoot a week ago Saturday downtown, Cortland Alley and in Tribeca with a great young actress. We had a great time. As we were walking from one location to the other, these two guys were walking towards us. And one guy says to the other, dude, you need a new LinkedIn profile shot. What are you doing? So we got a little like that. I said, guys, I'm your guy. The guy emailed me yesterday. I said, here's my Instagram. Look at my work if you like what I do. So it was a casual thing. It wasn't pushy. And we're going to have a consultation tomorrow on the phone. And he had just moved to New York, so whatever, he's got a big new job and stuff. So that's kind of how you have to feel ready. You have to be not pushy, but you have to put yourself out there. So I hope that answers it. All right, let's move this light.
You got one more.
Yep, go for it.
Tony's asking, how well will this setup work with someone with glasses?
How well? So angle of incidence, right? You've all heard about that. And so, Eric Bird, you're welcome. So basically, somebody with glasses, sometimes they're non-reflective. So there are 3 things I do to fine tune it. Have them push it all the way up, and then you want them to turtle and press down, and sometimes just so we can see the eyes, and sometimes that will do it combined with raising the light up and tipping it down. It's a game of inches. I'm not going to be doing that today, but it's absolutely doable. One thing is you can't use a reflector underneath because that will absolutely reflect unless they're special glasses, I think. I'm not sure. Answer your question? Cool. All right. Now, when you're working with anybody, whoever you are, a man or a woman, you have to be mindful of their personal space. And if you don't know them well and stuff like that, always treat with respect. You never touch anybody. If you want hair moved, you ask them, can you do it? If you're lucky, you work with a stylist on the set who will do it. So we've worked together once. We have rapport, but I would not any way, shape, or form touch Nicole at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell her is, Nicole, could you step to the side? I'm going to get in your personal space because I want to look at the light position, but I'm going to communicate that at all times, right? So I'm going to move this a little bit closer and a little bit more feathered. Nicole, would you stand back where you were standing? So we're going to see if we're about 45, 45. And we're kind of feathered. This edge is at her. And these will be tweaks that you can make if you have one light tight space, how much light will be on the background or not. And now, though, that we have light on the side, we'll be able to move back away and we'll be able to darken the background. But I want to see, good, we're back up. And I got to get that out of the way. And I do that over here. And boom, good. So this should be way too bright. So pop a hip, wait on one leg. How you doing? Good. And again, I've got back button autofocus and it goes right to the eye. And this should be quite overexposed. So, drum roll, please. And guess what it is? Very, very overexposed. We have a little bit of shadow on the left side. We have a lot of light on the background, which I don't like that. I don't want that much light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move everything out towards me, and I'm going to reduce the power on the light. So Nicole, would you take one giant step forward? Good. And then I'm going to guesstimate and bring this back, and I'm going to feather it even a little bit more. And we're going to see what that does to the background. And I'm also going to, I'm awful at guesstimating this, but I'm going to bring my light down 1 stop from 6 to 5 and see what happens with that. And again, if I were working with a light meter, Ian, I know you would get this locked in, but this is what I'm doing. So that's great. Nicole's already dropped in for me, and I'm having her stay looking straight at me. You can have your model, your person, look towards the light as well for catch lights, but let's see what we get in terms of contrast here. Come on now. Whoosh. 2 guys walk into a bar. So that's a little bit better, right? We've darkened that background a bit. I think the exposure is pretty good on Nicole, and this looks much better on the monitor up there than it does on my monitor here. So what I could do, and actually I like the catch light in the corner like that. We don't quite have Rembrandt lighting, but we do have that triangle underneath. So now we've got this is a little bit of a more dramatic look. And let me see if I can get this. I'm not going to do the compare side by side, but here's, so here's with the light behind me and the reflector underneath. And here's something a little bit more dramatic. Now, if you can imagine, if you have different color backdrops, or when I'm working at home, I love the collapsible backdrops I have with texture, brown, stuff like that. And by the way, on my Instagram, which is Charles Chessler Photography, you'll see a much more diverse amount of work, whether it's outdoor work with light, without added light, indoor work, dramatic stuff like this. Again, in my mind, the purpose of today was to really help people get going with the basics and that you can carry this stuff with you. So let's say we like this exposure, but we want a little less shadowing. So we can bring our reflector back in. And the amount that we fill in, and I'm sorry I'll be blocking Nicole for this, the amount we fill in will depend on the proximity of the reflector to your subject. So bring this up here. Good. like that, a little bit higher. And we're going to show you also different positioning. So here's the direction of the light. And I can see with the modeling light that it's definitely hitting right there. And we're going to see how that fills in. And then we're going to adjust the angle of it to see how that affects it as well. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Charles.
What's up? Good. Chin a little down for me. Beautiful. Bam. I think my phrase that I will say till my dying day is chin a little down, please. That's for most people. Also, Nicole is she's got angles. She doesn't really have to worry about turtling in a little bit. So if we look at the difference, we got that with the shadow, and this is up to you. You salt and pepper to taste, right? And then we've got a little bit, and we've got a little bit almost like a separation light, a little bit on the cheek. Maybe it's a little too much. So I'm going to do one last thing, I think, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'm going to move this around like this, pretty tight. And we're going to see what that does. Okay. Back in the high life again. People put up with my bad singing, and then I get a nice smile like that when I know them. I wouldn't be doing that with the CEO, or I might if, you know. So let's see what we got there just with that change of the reflector. And drum roll, please. Is that not in? Was that it? No, that was not it, right? This is it. There we go. Oh yeah, that's the first one. Yep. With a little bit of light on the cheek, on the camera left cheek. And you see the difference, how much that fills in. So this is one light using a reflector, not using a reflector to have more or less shadows. I'm gonna, fewer shadows. It's a countable number, right? So I remember that from English. First of all, can we get a round of applause for Nicole? Because we're done shooting. Nicole, what's your Instagram if people want to find you?
Yes, my Instagram is Nicole C. Stewart with 2 T's. And yeah.
Nicole C. Stewart with 2 T's. Young, talented actress. If you're in the theater, hire her.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. So I'm not going to start packing up. I just want to make myself kind of present, turn my cap around, which looks better, and ask if there are any questions in the audience or any other questions online. No questions. Okay. Dare I ask, did anybody learn anything today?
I did.
Cool. Great. My hope is that it would be useful even for advanced shooters. So no questions. So I'm going to take a moment to do a little shameless promotion for me then. On the feed will be my Instagram, Charles Chessler Photography. I do small group workshops, 5 people max, whether it's studio stuff or my favorite thing, I do outdoor on the 18th. I have 2 spots left. We do outdoor with natural light, and then we bring a strobe and we look for pockets of light and we work in the moment. I also am the photographer teacher for trips to South Africa with Wild Tomorrow. It's a dream come true for me because we're actually feeding children. We're saving rhinos. I pinch myself because when I was a kid growing up, I never thought it'd be something I'd be able to do in person. So the next trip that we're hoping to put together, I've been 4 times, is probably the fall of 2026. And then the last thing, I'm going to have actually a show on June 3rd. My buddy Peter Rinaldi, thank you for making that happen, on the Upper West Side. And I'm going to have showing work from both Agreeable Strangers and from South Africa. And plus, we're going to have about 10 11 by 14 prints that we're going to be raffling off, $10 raffle tickets. And all of the money that comes from that is going to go to either opening act. We're going to split between opening act, that organization that brings theater to underserved public schools, and Wild Tomorrow. So it's not a benefit for me. But also there will be a link. I'm getting my newsletter going again. So if you saw yesterday, there was a book publishing thing. So thrilling for me is I'm having my first book done, which is about Agreeable Strangers, a project I've been doing for 14 years. Near and dear to my heart, personal project. And so through the newsletter, I will announce there will be a 2-week window of a pre-sale. So I'm obviously trying to reach as many people as possible. So if you wish, you can sign up. There'll be a link in my bio on Instagram. Any other? EJ Orb, how are you, buddy? Thank you. Hi, Ryan. Thank you very much. Vic Romaine, dude, saving rhinos is so dope. You go, it will change your life. The first time I went, I was this close because the rhino is sedated to remove the horn. and I was sobbing inside, and I had to control myself so I could take photos. I was shooting very close and wide for impact. It's a beautiful thing. And whomever else, I will get online and answer and say thank you to as many people. We have a question in the audience.
Do you prefer to use a prime lens for portraits or a telephoto?
So it's a great actually question that right now. So I'm very much a prime. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The question is, do I prefer to use a prime lens or a zoom, a telephoto? A lot of people use a 70 to 200. So 85 millimeter is my focal length of choice. When I do my Agreeable Strangers project, though, I approach people and I'm close enough, I can hold a reflector, and one hand I use a 50 millimeter. And I brought a 50 millimeter lens today, so if you're even in a tighter space, you could shoot with a 50 millimeter. If you're not too close, I really don't see distortion. People worry about that, but I'm a prime guy. But for event work, I'm saving up. I'm going to be getting, so the RF, it's a 24 to 105 f4 I'm going to get, so that shooting step and repeats in and out. I don't want the weight of the 2.8, although that extra stop, twice the light, one stop, would be great, but just can't do it. And I don't care if my ISOs go up to 1600, 3200. Nobody cares except other photographers who are pixel peeping on websites where they never ever meet you in person. One more question.
Use any filters at all?
So the question is, do I use any filters? I don't. I've used years ago, I started out doing bird photography, which is why I get to go and help people in South Africa. And I did some landscape stuff, and I did use circular polarizer, and looks great when the sun's coming from the side, but I'm not doing that. So I, unbelievably to me, have a career as a portrait and headshot photographer that I started making my full-time living 6 years ago. It consumes all of my time. And I actually I just missed migration, and I want to go into the park. I haven't gone. I've been posting photos from 10 and 15 years ago. I was in the park every day doing that. So yeah, thank you for the question. Anything else? Anything online? Seth, we good? 6:01, 1 hour. Not bad, huh?
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.